How are we doing on sound?
Hello.
Is that blocking his face though? Is it good? All right.
You probably get a little bit closer. Welcome everybody to another edition of Bottom of the Bill. Today's guest is Shawn Pfaffman. Thanks for being on the show, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So for those who don't know, Shawn is a recording and performing artist, as well as a songwriter and music educator. His uniquely refined skills on the organ and piano have taken him around the world as a solo artist, sideman, and band leader. As an educator, Shawn founded the First Coast School of Music, was a past chair for the Arts Advisory Council for Duval Public Schools, and is currently a writer and instructor at Chuck Leavell's iRockYou.com. He's currently on the precipice of releasing his 7th album, Monk Funk, which is a reinterpretation of the Thelonious Monk tunes, and in a style that you've coined junk, which is pretty dope.
Junk.
With his band Spot. The album also includes one original song, Monk Funk Drop. Jesus, I'm crushing it today.
Yeah.
Monk Funk drops on all platforms tomorrow when this airs, and will be supported with performance at 1904 Music Hall, which will also be a benefit for Dorian Lopez. On top of all that, you're a devoted father as well, and we just found out that like you run like several businesses too.
Yeah.
So you're just a really busy guy.
I guess so, yes.
That's awesome, man.
Try to.
Yeah, well, welcome. Thank you so much for sticking through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm glad you came over.
Thank you.
And real quick shout out to Manifest for providing us with whiskey and bourbon for the show. And Shawn also brought us some of, what was this called again?
Clyde Mays.
Clyde Mays from
Alabama.
Alabama
really
whiskey.
good. So we
I'm
appreciate-
from Alabama, so
It's smooth.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah.
We
Thanks
haven't
for
done
coming.
cheers at the beginning of the show in a long time.
That's not my fault, right? Where's our production manager?
Yeah. Which before we get started, I wanted to. We started a little late today. Not that matters to anybody when this airs, but are we vastly overpaying Gene or?
Oh man, like we're really gonna bring this up like in front of everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to actually say this out loud, but yeah, we should at least dock him a little
Probably
bit.
dock him a little
Dock
bit.
him a little bit.
Yes. I don't know, Gene. You gotta start earning your worth around here, bro.
He showed up like 2 hours late and then forgot the most important chord to start this whole podcast, right?
Yeah. So as a result, we're starting an hour and a half late. So thanks, Gene. Docked.
100%, man.
we got to catch up, though.
Yeah. Well,
Just like 3 words of advice. I think a lot of people need to hear it. Just get it together.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyways, back to regularly scheduled programming. We're just joking, Gene. We love you, bro.
Yeah, he told me to just go along with it, so I did. But I don't like he's done more for us than anybody else has this entire time we've done this thing.
Oh, Chris is doing a pretty good job too.
Yeah, it basically chopped liver over there.
Anyways, welcome to the Roasting Chris and Gene podcast featuring Shawn Pfaffman. Shawn's just gonna sit here and listen to us roast Chris and Gene. That's all. That's a whole episode. That's why he's here. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I took my time today.
I thought you were gonna roast them both, but I guess not. Sorry, sorry, Chris. I thought he was doing a thing. He was gonna roast both of you, but you're just
picking on Gene today.
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Anyways, so I listened to the album that you sent, Monk Funk, which was awesome, by the way. I love
you.
the Beshma.
Bimsha Swing.
Yeah, it's so good, man. The melody was beautiful, and then your original tune on there was really funky. I love the performances were amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. So I'm curious, what is junk?
Junk is just jazz and funk.
Okay.
So I just decided to call it junk. Kind of just what I'm doing with this is kind of playful. If you go to our website, it's all like a comic book. It's serious music, but not taking it too seriously. So same thing, just calling it junk. Miles Davis would have derogatory terms when he thought someone was awesome. Like, you're terrible.
Right, right.
So it's kind of the same thing. It's like junk to me is, I love it. And I love blending those two worlds, and especially with this album, Thelonious Monk to me was just one of the funkiest jazz piano players around, both in his compositions and his playing. It was so, he used dissonance and his syncopation, so it just lent itself to applying it to kind of New Orleans funk grooves.
I mean, it makes it so much more palatable, I think, also.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you wouldn't think that it was so, like, I guess, harmonically complex listening to your interpretations of them, you know?
That's important to me. You know, I love dissonance, but not just for the sake of dissonance. I love dissonance that resolves and has purpose, and to where anyone can listen to it and get moved by it. You know, I don't like some of those. The one song called "Brilliant Corners" has these crazy, crazy changes. In one section, that's 15 bars, and it's just wild. But I tried to approach it in the same way, playing through these changes in a way that it doesn't feel like that.
Right.
Bim,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, Bimsha Swing was the same way, where it's using some really dissonant type things going on, flat nines and stuff.
I love the chord, like just the progression, the melody in that one. It's like just it's like very minory, and then you don't expect it to like resolve this major kind of thing, and it's so pretty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that one. And for the 1904 show, what's the benefit for?
So my friend Dorian Lopez was in a terrible car accident a little while back and recently, and he's had numerous surgeries and will be out. He's a musician, and he also had a full-time job, and he's just going through a lot. So we're trying to figure out how a way we can help in a meaningful way. And he's got a GoFundMe out there that people can help out with. And we thought, you know what, let's take this show, and we've been doing a lot of promotion for it, and put it for him, and give the proceeds to him, and so hopefully that make his recovery a little bit easier.
That's awesome, man.
He's a very nice guy.
Didn't you guys do that one time for somebody?
Yeah, but it wasn't because of a car accident. It was for bail money. But it was, yeah, I've done that before.
Yeah.
At 1904, actually.
Yeah.
For a very good friend of mine that I think we all know who we're talking about. But
Yeah.
anyways, I think that's very honorable. That's amazing that you're doing that for him. You said that this album's gonna drop on. I guess that would be the
The ninth.
The
9th.
9th.
I was so close.
The same day as the show, April 9th.
That's amazing. Okay, cool. Yeah, I want to come to that for sure.
Yeah. You guys are welcome to sit in, too. We're going to have people sitting in. And
That'd be so much fun, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to do that.
I just do it because I never got to play a Hammond XB before. I just really want to play on that.
Heck
organ.
yeah.
Were you invited to play the Hammond X?
He just
Yes,
invited me.
yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell him to bring that thing.
I'll bring my 1983 Casio tone,
Yeah.
without a
Heck yeah,
doubt.
bring
Yeah.
that, too.
It's got great sounds.
Billy's got a really cool melodica in the other room.
Oh, yeah.
And he plays it all the time before he goes to sleep, just to remind himself that he's not alone in the world, you know?
What is wrong with you?
Anyways,
That's so weird.
what was the inspiration for putting this record together?
So I guess it's been a little over a year now. About a year and a half. I was just listening to Monk tunes and just had the idea to do it. And then I got to, at that time I was touring with a blues artist, Anton Funderburg. And so it kind of got put off on the back burner. And then once that was done last May, Paul Griffin, the drummer on the album, had hit me up about doing some drum work on another album that I had released. So I knew that he was open to being creative and trying different things. So we got together and just started jamming and realized that we really enjoyed it. And for the last year, every week we've just been working it out and fine tuning it through regular rehearsals and shows, and just coming up with different twists the whole time. Then I brought in the guitarist on the album, was a student of mine. So I started teaching him Evan Sinclair when he was like 11 or 12. And I've taught thousands and thousands of students, and he's by far at the top of students that were just motivated and hard, just dedicated. Everything that I would give him, whether it was, we'd start off on Stevie Ray Vaughan and B.B. King, and then went to Eric Johnson and Jimmy Herring, and then went to Charlie Parker, and everything I would give him, he would just absorb. So he far past me on guitar skills, but I continue to work with him on theory and just musicality. And still, we have a relationship where I was still teaching someone vocals and piano. But so he was a guitarist on there.
That's awesome.
19 years old.
That must have been really cool to work with
Yeah.
him in that capacity.
Yeah.
And he must have gotten a kick out of the process. Is that his first time
so,
doing
yeah.
something like that?
Yeah.
Wow, he crushed it, man. That's not an easy task to do your first run at the studio.
Right.
It's a whole fucking world in there.
Yeah.
Was it the process of putting the songs together? Was that like collaborative? Or was that basically your arrangements that those guys were just playing on?
No, it's collaborative. So I had the initial idea, and some of the songs I would say, okay, maybe a second line beat would be best here. Or with like the Bimsha swing, it's got a very Middle Eastern type vibe to it. So we brought in, that was Paul's idea, to bring in the element of the toms and things like that to really give it that driving caravan-esque feel.
Yeah.
So, it was collaborative.
Awesome. And how much of that was improvised in the just like the solo or just the improv moments, I guess?
100%. So all the improvisation was just put out there, but we did work out the melodies and the structure and things like that. But I would just leave it up to the guys. Like if Evan wanted to put in like a complimentary guitar line to what I was playing, I just leave that free open to him.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Was there was there like a set amount of time that people were going to be soloing, or was that all like kind of just leaving it up to them as well in the moment?
So we did kind of work that out. After, we would play through them. Now, live's a different story. Live, we go until we just feel like we're done. But for the album, we figured out kind of what worked best. And some of the songs are 8 minutes, some were 5 minutes. So it wasn't a set thing. Okay, we're going to do 2 times through the form on this. But once we kind of got what we knew was what we liked and were comfortable with, then when we recorded it, that's what we did.
Okay, so you guys are pretty well rehearsed before going into it. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we spent a long time, and that's really one of the first times in my career that's done that. And for this album, I told the guys, I was like, I know it's not going to get any kind of Grammy attention or any kind of attention like that. So, but I want it to be Grammy worthy. I want it to be something I could be proud of and that my grandkids can be proud of and things like that. So I want us to really take the time to get it right, just so that it would be a good quality product that we are proud of.
Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, it definitely is. You guys accomplished that for sure.
Would you say that most jazz albums that you ever listen to, it's all not improv, but I guess it is improv, but it's all at the same time. It's not like pre-thought out and worked on in a studio.
I think it depends on the artist and the
Right.
era that you're talking about.
But it seems
It
like it's
does.
that way, right?
It was. So back in the day, in the 50s and 60s, they did. And today it's mixed. So you'll find some artists that just want to record it live, and that's what they want because they want the feel like the pureness of it. Then other artists, maybe because of logistics reasons or whatever it might be, I remember Chick Corea saying how the last album that he did, it was during COVID. So, he just recorded his parts. He sent it to the guys. They recorded their parts. Everybody sent it back. So,
That's
Right.
pretty. That's pretty.
That's crazy to think. Yeah, Chick Corea did that.
Yeah, for a jazz record. It's
Yeah.
like and like their stuff. I mean, I'm more familiar with like his earlier stuff. I don't know what his stuff was sounding like. Like up until he died, but I can't imagine that working in that context. I feel like that has to be done in a live setting. It's wild to me that they did it remotely.
yeah. And they may have gone back and forth. What I've done before was recorded something, and somebody else would record something, and I record on top of that.
Yeah.
So, like, we're kind of feeding off of what we're doing.
Right.
Because jazz truly is a conversation.
Right.
Like the best that I've been a part of, or not the best, but the most enjoyable that I've been a part of, has been when we were all together and we're just vibing, and that's any music, I think.
I like that distinction that you made there. The not the best, but the fun, like the most fun,
Most enjoyable.
most enjoyable, because it's like it is that. It's like sometimes there's such a polished product, but that's not always the thing that's like so enjoyable. Sometimes it's just like most of the time it's just that vibe. Even if the band doesn't sound the best or it's a little sloppy, whatever it might be, if the personalities are just gelling, everyone's feeling it that night, then that's that's the thing that we all strive for. Are you familiar with Eric Krasno?
Oh yeah.
So he has a podcast that's really good called Kraz Plus One, and he was talking about some Miles Davis stuff that they'd released, like these alternate takes of like from some of his earlier stuff, and how some of those takes were like technically better, like they were better performed, right? But the energy and like the feeling wasn't there, so they went with the takes that may not have been as perfect, but just hit you in that certain way.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild, as an artist to be able to make that choice,
I was hanging out with a friend of mine a couple weeks ago, and there was Miles' tune being played, and he said, "Did you hear that? Miles flubbed it there." And sure enough, but that's part of the beauty of it. It's like it's not perfect.
Yeah,
Right.
I was gonna add, jam bands are like almost exactly the same way in the way
Yeah.
that you listen to them, right? But is there like a nugs.net like archive.org for jazz shows? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good
Or
question.
like do like big jazz heads or like I don't listen to these albums unless it is a live recording. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't
'Cause
know.
that's the way that Deadheads are,
Right,
or
right.
any sort of jam band fan is. It's like you're listening to the album. Don't listen to the album. Listen to like 87.
Yeah.
Listen to
Yeah.
77.
Exactly.
77 was a good
Boulder.
year. That was
Yeah.
Boulder, yeah.
That show was off the chain.
Exactly. That's why I want to know if jazz is the same way.
No,
No, not even close.
no.
Because they didn't have it recorded, I guess.
Well, I say no because you don't find like many bootleg jazz things. Now there are tons of jazz live albums.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
is-
and they mostly are. Like in my opinion,
Yeah.
that's what you see. Is it's live? You're like, oh, because you'll never know it's live until you hear applause at the end. You're like, oh, it was live.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a lot.
So you do see a lot of that with jazz live at the Village Vanguard.
Yeah.
Or Smalls. But as far as just at least in the jam band community, it's literally. I know in the '90s when I was really touring around with the jam bands, it would just be whoever that had a tape recorder at the time.
Tapers, yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
You get those bootleg tapes and stuff, and that's like the whole
Archive.org.
Yeah.
That's where all of those tapes are now.
Right.
Like for all the dead shows and stuff, and then they basically have about nugs.net.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. It's just like it's like the Netflix of jam band.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm not aware of any jazz
That's what I'm
sites
saying.
like that, but that wouldn't surprise me though. I feel like there is like a bit of a similarity in the way that the shows are perceived, where it's like their version of this song at this show was like better than what was on the album, or like, you know what I mean? I don't know. I'm also like not super into that community, so I wouldn't really know.
'Cause
But
they're just jamming the whole time, right?
yeah, basically.
Jazz is just jam, but just a
jamming.
little fancier.
Yeah, I think it
He
depends.
agrees. Ordained.
Yeah,
I'll tell you, like some of my most favorite stuff is the modal music that really came out or got real big in the '60s with
Miles and stuff.
Miles and Coltrane. Trying to think, but that they would go off. It was so similar to the jam band experiences that I've had.
yeah, because it's like just vamping on one or two chords, and then, and like
That's
all they were
true.
really doing was just implying all this weird harmony and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But ultimately, like so what is just one chord, then it just goes up like a half step, and then it is weird to count it though, right? Because it's like what is it, like 36 measures or something, and then it changes, and like for like 8 measures, and it goes back. So when you're soloing over it, you have to like keep track of that because it doesn't change. You know, it's very strange.
Yeah. I always rely on the drummers, and then the drummers will invariably intentionally skew it.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
no, come on, man, just tell me when,
yeah.
give it to me because you'll have 16 measures of D, and then 8 measures of E flat, then back to 8 measures of D, then another 16 measures of D, and it's like
Right.
that right in there. It's like, okay, when are we going? I just wait for the bass. I'm like, it's up to you.
Yeah.
I'm following you.
Yeah, that's where the listening comes into play. Just
Yeah,
intent listening. You know,
Yes.
it's literally the same concept. I mean, jam bands got their entire platform from jazz, basically.
That's where the JA comes from.
You're right.
Thank you.
Ba-da-doom, where's Aaron when you need him?
Yeah. That was funny, that show last
Yeah.
last weekend.
I like how Aaron like does that. Like he does like he always does the drum joke thing when it's like not a joke,
A rim
which
shot?
makes
Is that what
which
you're
makes
trying
it
to say?
whatever. But yeah, that's what makes it funny though. It's like we've been cracking jokes the whole time and you don't do it. Then we make a not like a real statement and then you do it. It's like that's
Yeah,
fucking-
that is pretty good.
is good. Yeah. So where did you guys record this record at?
Paul's has a studio. Our drummer, Paul Griffin, is Gator Grooves Studio.
Where's that at?
It's in St. Augustine.
Okay, cool. And what was the recording experience like as far as just, the setup and, the post-production process and like, how did that all work out?
So while we were recording it, we just did the typical thing where the three of us in one room, amps and other places. Obviously, his drums were right there, but for us, I was running through the one of my Leslie cabinets and had that in another room, and then the guitar amp was in the other room. So we just went through, recorded it. We did go back through and retake certain things, if we wanted to clean something up. We'd do that individually. So
Did you guys do it to a metronome?
no,
No, okay, that's insane. So you guys are like punch stuff in and not have it on any kind of grid. You just
No.
going for it. Whew, that is wild.
I've done that on the last 2 albums that I've done, and I noticed that it gets more organic in that
Yeah.
way.
To-
And what got me to do that was Chick Corea was saying how he was like anti-metronome, even for practicing. But his main philosophy was that there's certain times where a song should speed up or should slow down, and it gives us organic movement. He spoke specifically about a couple of his songs where he listened back to it and they jumped up like 20 beats per minute, but he decided to leave it because it felt right.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. That's just
You're not playing a metronome, you're playing live.
No, I know that's true. That's true. I'm of
Even
the,
if you got like really good time and everything too, you know what I mean? You're still gonna be a little bit off. No one's perfect.
yeah, totally. I
Except for that dude from Cream. What was his name? The bass player?
Jack Bruce.
Yeah, Jack Bruce. I
Yeah.
knew it was Bruce something. I
Yeah.
don't remember. I wish we could cut to that clip. Have you ever seen Beware Ginger Baker? That
Yeah,
documentary?
yeah.
That's one of my favorite clips of all time.
don't remember
It's
the
Ginger
clip, though.
Baker being like, oh, I fucked that guy who's a cunt or whatever, and then I was like, but he's got perfect time. And then it just clips to Bruce, and he's like, yeah, I had perfect time.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite clips ever.
Oh my goodness.
So hold on. Do you believe that perfect time exists?
Absolutely not. No.
Oh, I was gonna say. 'Cause
Oh,
then-
you mean like, yeah, I mean, it exists, of course, but is a human capable of doing it always? No.
Okay. I was just curious because you also don't believe in perfect pitch.
Have somebody having perfect pitch?
Yeah.
It's just the word perfect. I just don't believe in that word.
So it's true.
It's
And,
what
I'll tell you, like, this is how I know it's true. I never believed in perfect pitch either. I always thought it was relative pitch.
liking you already.
And about 10 years ago, I started working with a student that was had autism. And he was nonverbal up until he was about 6. By the time I met him at 8, he was verbal and was high functioning. But he was still, he was still dealing with it. So his dad says, let me show you something. And he went to the other room and he was like, play any key. And I played, and the kid would just immediately call out what note it was. Didn't matter where I went. And it blew my mind. Then, and I worked with him for a couple years, and anything he would hear, he would just automatically, like, his brain just worked differently than ours. And then I ended up working with another autistic student that was 4 years old, and he was completely nonverbal. And the communication was very sparse, and he had an attention span of about 6 seconds. So I was just doing things to kind of work on his motor skills and different things that I've learned with working with special needs kids. And I would play something, and he would just wander off to like the other side of the room, and I'd play it, and he'd just come right back and he'd play it immediately, exactly what I played.
Wow.
That's crazy.
So that made you believe in perfect pitch.
Yeah.
So what do you say to that, Bill?
I mean, it's subjective, so I don't know what to tell you. That's a great story, though. No, don't say that over there.
What else would you call it, though?
No, I'm just saying, like, the word perfect in general is just like, because.
Well, that's pretty finite, yeah.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt, like, because just that. But yeah, of course, that's amazing. Like you said, would you say relative pitch?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe in that, without a doubt.
Well, yeah, because if you have a reference point, then sure. But like.
Oh no. You're right. Sorry, that's not what I thought you meant. I was trying to say more of that, like when it comes down to how perfect it could be. Like if you're trying to tell something from 440 hertz to like 39 hertz or something.
Oh,
like
okay.
that.
No,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's ridiculous. You know?
Yeah. Usually people just mean that
Yeah,
that
Like
you
it's
can
just
recognize a pitch or you can produce a pitch.
I think so, and it's an incredible talent. Yeah, without a doubt. All right,
Yeah.
so I will give it up to that. If there's no better word for it than perfect pitch for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, I believe in that.
Because relative pitch can be developed. Right?
Well, I know
like,
what relative pitch
Yeah,
is
and,
now.
and that's something that anybody, that if you work at it, you can get relative pitch. But yeah, the perfect pitch stuff is like just boom. Oh, that was a B flat. It's like, well, what the fuck? You know what I mean?
Right.
That's wild, man.
It really is.
Like I've met musicians over the years. You could like drop keys and they can tell you what the interval of those sounds are. You know what I mean?
It seems like you should be able to learn it the same way that you learn anything else. Just because, like, I can see like a color like that lava lamp is orange.
Well, you might be
And
able
I
to.
know that is orange from the other times I've seen orange before. I don't have to think about it.
Well,
you know what I mean?
you can might be able to tell the quality of a chord, right?
Yeah.
But you might not be able to call out the individual notes. Like you might not be able to say like that's a B flat 13 or something, right?
Yeah.
But
Or
like
the order of the notes,
Yeah, or
which is lowest.
What,
and
like what
highest.
inversion and stuff?
exactly. That's the difference between perfect pitch. It's like, okay, I can tell you this is a diminished chord, but like, can you tell me which diminished chord it is, and can you tell me, the order of the notes? So it's like,
Voicing of it.
yeah,
So
exactly.
every now and then you'll get it like 100% correct, and then you look like a genius.
Yeah, yeah.
I never get it correct.
No, me neither.
I got terrible ears.
Yeah, I was doing ear training for a little while, and then
It's called oral training, actually.
whatever. And I was getting good at like being able to hear the intervals, like when I was like learning tunes and stuff. And then I just kind of never kept up with it. And my ears aren't terrible by any, like I learned, that's how I learned everything, is by ear.
Thank you.
But
Yes, that is
oral
correct.
theory training. Well, if you go on musictheory.com or .net, they call it ear training. So I'm going to refer to them.
That's to
or
get
defer
more
to them.
customers on their website.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. Come on, relax.
But anyways, back to the regular scheduled programming.
Okay.
What's the you have the CS Churchman project also. So what was that all about?
So last December, a year ago December, I got COVID, and I have family members that are susceptible to things, so it's completely isolated from my whole family. I have a little home studio, so I just stayed in there for the 10 days and just wrote and recorded music the whole week, and it ended up being soul kind of songwriter stuff that just told stories. And so I released it, and but I didn't want to get confused. The stuff I have under my name, Shawn Pfaffman, is mainly Southern jazz piano and things like that. So I didn't want to confuse the two, so I went with the moniker CS Churchman. Pfaff is just another word for church. Pfaffman meant man of the church. And my name is Christopher Shawn, so.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Were you symptomatic when you had COVID?
No.
No, okay.
But a friend of ours is an occupational therapist. Like, my wife was freaking out. She's like, "You gotta stop singing so much. You're gonna die up there." And I was like, "No, it feels good." And a friend of ours, occupational therapist, she said, "No, that's probably the best thing he can do."
Wow. Yeah, because when you told me that you did it when you had COVID, I was like,
Yeah, I was kind of reading that too. I was like, wow, is it like,
Yeah.
is it good? Because
Yeah.
it's like you were sick, right?
which it is. It's great. Like
Yeah.
the song Window Panes. Yeah.
Yeah, I was listening to that today, and the music video you did. Is that in your house? That's your piano that you're working with?
Mm-hmm.
That must be nice.
I didn't see the video. Was it a grand piano or something?
My wife gave me a grand piano for my 40th birthday.
Nice.
So it's probably that one.
This guy's got
awesome.
grand pianos.
What
pointing
is
up in
it,
fucking
by the way?
Maseratis.
It's Baldwin.
I knew it was a
7.
Baldwin. I was like, Baldwin. It's got to be a Baldwin.
So I was literally looking out the windows. That's all that was there. And I was just thinking about the windows and that play on word pain, whether the window pane or the pain that I was feeling. Because I was asymptomatic for the most part. But then also, as a musician, I know most of us have probably dealt with this at some point or another, but just the anxiety that we go through of performing things like that and dealing with that anxiety, I kind of lumped that all together. And people say that your eyes are the windows to your soul. So I use that as a metaphor, the window panes, for being able to look into what was going on inside of me, both physically and, mentally or whatever.
Right.
So, and that was a lot of anxiety I was going through when I had the COVID, because at that time I had, I know a few people that had passed away. I was like, I cannot leave my family like this. So that's what that was about.
Yeah, I mean the lyrics are beautiful, and
Yeah.
I mean the songs are really like somber and introspective. I thought it was great, man.
Thank you.
And it really shows your versatility as a writer as well and a musician. Did you play all the instruments on that?
Mm-hmm.
You did.
Yeah.
Wow. So you played drums and
So I play over 40 instruments.
holy
What?
shit.
Yeah.
That was in your bio.
What's the
bro.
weirdest
No.
one?
The weirdest one?
The kazoo, right?
Yeah.
Are you an avid kazoo
So the
guy?
ham bone, probably.
Yeah.
Or no,
don't
what's
know if
it?
they're
The jawbone. No, what is it called? I can't think of the word.
Yeah,
Billy's known for-
the jaw harp. Yeah.
Jaw heart. Thank you.
Billy's
Sorry.
known for ruining bits on the show. It's
No,
okay.
yeah, but I really wanted to know. Wow, 40 instruments? So that's awesome, man.
Yeah, so in my 20s, I had a musical instrument store.
Oh, yeah,
In
duh. That makes
Alabama.
sense. Yeah.
So the teachers that I had working there, I didn't charge them anything to teach there.
Okay.
And I said, the only thing you have to do is you just have to teach me. So that's where I learned violin and saxophone and mandolin. And
You play all these proficiently? Like you could do
Not
a gig?
anymore.
No.
I used to, but probably about 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, I really decided to just focus in on the organ and piano.
Okay.
But I teach guitar, drums, bass, piano, violin. The main ones, but things like trumpet and saxophone, that takes repetition. You have to build up the chops.
Right.
And actually all of them, even the violin. Like if I played the violin right now, it would be terrible. I haven't played it in probably a couple years.
Yeah. You also, I feel like, have to have a passion for that specific instrument.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like, there's been times where like, I started off playing piano when I was a kid. I can't play a lick now to save my life. But I was taking classical, quote unquote, classical lessons. It was like learning like Hal Leonard books and stuff like that. And and I had to practice every day for like an hour and do the whole thing. And when I was like 11, I just stopped playing because I wasn't into it anymore. And then when I was 14, I started playing guitar, and I really liked the guitar a lot. And all my favorite musicians at the time were all guitar players, and so and I just found myself wanting to play the guitar. I would pick it up in my spare time. I would write songs. I would do all that. Now to this day, as much as I love music, the only thing that I ever feel inspired to sit down and play is the guitar. Like not a piano. I have one at my house. I never play it. I have a bass. I never play it. Like I just the guitar is the only thing I really enjoy playing. You know.
My story is almost identical to yours. So when I was 12, I wanted to quit playing. I've been taking the classical lessons, and but my teacher convinced my parents to have me stick with it. So she got me a blues book, and then my dad got me a journey book, and all of a sudden it became fun. But I was still like, it became more exciting, right? So that was a huge point for me in determining that I wanted to be a musician for the rest of my life. But I love guitar, and Hendrix is one of my favorite guitarists of all time. So my brother played some guitar, and my dad played guitar. Guitar was always around our house, and they would teach me things. And I bought my first guitar when I was 14, and that's all I did. I was still taking piano lessons, but I wasn't playing piano really. I was just playing guitar. And then when I got to college, I was studying from this amazing guy that played with Albert King and some other people, and he was just, I was just soaking it in. And I actually had a Jimi Hendrix tribute band.
Nice.
And my hair is real curly, and when it grows out, and I have what I call a pfaffro.
Pfaffro. Nice. Clever.
And but everybody kept hiring me for gigs on the piano, and when I went to audition at the school at Auburn for studying in the jazz department, I was most proficient on piano, even though I loved guitar more at that time. So I got in for piano, and that's what I was playing. But then I was playing with this blues band, and I found the organ. And I was like, oh, man.
Best of both worlds.
I can sustain notes. I can do swells. I can do vibrato. I can do all these things. Yeah, it's the best of both worlds. And I fell in love with the organ. It was like I could create all this emotion. Now, I've fallen back in love with the piano because it's a very percussive instrument. But it's like, for me, it's like the difference between an acoustic and electric guitar.
Yeah.
You know, they're two different instruments for different purposes. But if I only had to choose one, it would just be the organ. But I built my own guitars. I still play guitar daily.
That's awesome.
I love it. I'm just like a frustrated guitarist behind the organ.
Yeah.
Do you ever mess around with synthesizers at all?
Yeah. So I've got a couple. Back in the day, I used to have a few different Moogs, and like
What'd you have?
the little micro Moog.
Yeah, the mic. Wow, nice. That's good.
Yeah, and I had the Korg Poly 6,
Okay.
and right now I've got an Ovation,
Alright.
the bass something. So yeah, I love just that with the oscillators and the filters, and I never play it out live though.
That's what I got as a '79 Moog Prodigy.
Nice.
Yeah, his eyes lit up too. I was like, yeah, it's in my suitcase somewhere. You can't gig with that thing anywhere. It breaks all the time.
Yeah.
So it's just a nice little coffee table decoration at this point.
As it should be.
Hey, Low Prodigy is the coolest sound ever.
It is a cool sound.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
really liked it on the Pink Floyd song "Welcome to the Machine."
I don't know. That was the mini mode,
I know, that was a
actually.
joke.
Oh, that was a
Yeah,
joke.
yeah.
Okay, sorry.
God damn it, Bill, you're on.
And I
fire
think
today.
that was like '79. When did Wish You Were Here come out?
I think this is actually.
Boys,
this
what are
would
we
be-
paying you for?
This would be good to know actually because we've been having this ongoing debate as
Oh,
to
for fuck's sake, we're gonna do it again.
What decade
Pardon my
we
language.
we could live without musically, anyways. And I think the
He
80s,
said that he started getting back into piano from a Journey book. So
75. Right. Again, another
Yeah.
reason why the 70s is just that much better than the 80s. The 80s can go to hell as far as I'm concerned. The worst era for music by far.
Yeah, you have no. You're not gonna have any friends. Like
I mean,
you're
I
the only
already
person.
don't have any friends.
Well, yeah.
You know,
Well,
there's like I used to agree with that because I just was not a fan of pop music, and that was a big part of the '80s.
yeah. Help, because I love the '80s too. That's one of my favorites. Like, help me out here.
Well, like in the '80s, I was a diehard U2 fan,
Okay.
and
Another band that was also better in the 70s, by the way. But
started in the
let's
70s
continue,
too?
You
continue.
think so?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's just, if you like the raw, like kind of almost punk rock element that they were doing back then.
You two
which-
started in the '70s. I guess they had to.
they were like very late '70s,
Late 70s, but
like
yeah.
79, 80.
Yeah.
But yeah, the early '80s stuff was like that, and then the later '80s stuff I love too. Joshua Tree, that whole album, Rattle and Hum. That Rattle and Hum album, man, I fell in love with that.
'76.
I feel like they really hit their stride in 2000, you know?
Oh, when they when they put their song on your iPhone and it was like, "This is our gift to you."
When did Beautiful Day come out?
I'm pretty sure that was like
That was
late
the '90s. That was
yeah.
the '90s.
I love that song.
think.
Yeah.
I do too.
beautiful
It's the
day.
same chord progression the whole time too.
Yeah, I just feel like any like real U2 fan is gonna be like fuck you for saying that the 2000s was the best era.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's true,
2000.
yeah.
Yeah.
What?
So, anyways, you like the 80s now because of U2?
Oh, not really. I mean, but it's not my it's not my
So U2 is what made you love the 80s, okay?
yeah. No, the '80s I'm still not a fan of,
Yeah, thank you.
but I don't know if it's the worst.
What's the worst, do you think?
Maybe like the 19 teens.
Like the early 1900s?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's that
You're not
could
gonna
be-
piss anybody off saying that.
I mean, you know, even if that's a joke, there could be an argument made for that. But I also
That
feel
Tin
like,
Pan
No,
Alley
that
bullshit.
was actually a really good time
yeah,
because I heard like the French avant-garde movement.
yeah, well, and it was also like
my
it kind
God.
of set the
Like we're gonna know any of these damn
it
songs.
set the
the
tone for the rest of the
19
or the rest of the 20th century. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? A lot like the early
Well,
like big band and
When did Stravinsky come out with The Rites of Spring? Yeah,
yeah.
best year for
I feel
music.
like the 1830s could probably go.
That's like Beethoven, man.
Was it Beethoven?
Yeah.
Okay, 1840s are gone then.
13. I knew it. Yeah.
1813.
I don't know anything.
He's got it. Yeah. I can get out of here. That song sucks.
That one song.
I don't know anything for me around. Well, no, that's not true either. I was gonna say like 2000, 2010, but that's some of my favorite music too, though. But not popular. But like the stuff that Derek Trucks and JJ Gray were coming out with.
Yeah.
Like that's some of my favorite music.
Totally.
So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I still think the 80s can go for sure.
Yeah, it's
There-
just
there's
like
some
you just have a
gems in there,
vendetta
but
about the 80s.
It's just
and
well, yeah.
you just
I
hurt
hate
me
it.
because there's a lot of great bands
We were
from
on,
the 80s.
we played in Charlotte a few weeks ago, and on the way back from Charlotte, we've been having this conversation for a while. I was
No shit, man.
very excited. We had a thing
Oh my
that
God,
ended up
you were
working out in
so
our favor.
drunk and I was
But
driving you
anyways,
home.
I was pretty drunk.
Just put on the
And-
Bangles,
and,
man.
and I was like, no, let's listen to some fucking 80s. I got you. I started putting on like, Whip It by Devo, and then like the Go-Go's, like all this shit. I was like, yeah, the 80s are fucking
Put
awesome.
on Van
bro.
Halen, man.
I'm not a Van Halen fan, but they were also better in the 70s though.
No.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Absolutely. Anyways, this is a good segue into
Oh, yeah, great,
bottom of
yeah.
the Billboard. So did you check out the song?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So before
Very 80s.
before we get to it, for those who don't know, Bottom of the Billboard is a segment that we do every single week. One of us recommends a song for the other one to review. And if you know anything about the dynamic, Billy and I typically can't agree on anything musically if you haven't determined that by now. So this week's song that Billy chose
Yep.
was Tame Impala's Let It Happen.
Let It Happen off the album Currents. I think it came out in 2012, right? Yeah, even Gene's just like, yeah, that's a good one.
So
You
go first.
How to describe it?
Yeah.
I love this album in particular. Tame Impala is a really great artist. It's just Kevin Parker. It's just one person, and he writes everything and then hires people to play
his
it.
name was Tame.
That's really funny. Anyways, this is his first song off the album, and it's very long for like something as poppy as this because it's kind of experimental and it's kind of doing. The best way I can describe him is it's like Pink Floyd but with John Lennon singing over it, but super high vocals and everything with a lot of synthesizers and 80s, and just like the whole album is amazing. His new stuff is a little bit more poppy and I don't like, but this whole album is great. I picked this song because I thought you would like it because it's got like changes and stuff that you might be getting into. But it's not my favorite song off of it, but I do like that song a lot.
So
La T Del.
I love the song.
No way!
Yeah.
You like
I
Tame
did too.
Impala? You did?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
well,
loved it too. Yeah.
but he liked it, and that's what's weird.
Yeah, no, I mean, because of everything that you said, I mean, there's a lot of textures as
Yeah,
far as
that's
the
why I
production
picked it.
goes. You know, the synthesizers and all the, but then also it's like the arrangement. You know that it goes places. There's a lot of
know.
peaks and valleys. There's interesting kind of melodies, and there's a lot going on that you can kind of pick and choose what you want to listen to, and it's all doing something interesting.
It's very cool.
Almost like movements too
Exactly.
throughout the song.
Exactly.
I love the lyrics. I thought the lyrics were fantastic.
I couldn't really make the lyrics out too much.
I had to look them up.
You're talking about at the end, right?
Just in general.
Well, at the end, there are no lyrics. It's just that was the whole point of it. And I guess maybe I'm not making a good case for him right now, but like in the beginning, there are, of course.
Yeah.
Like, what happened? There's a lot of cool stuff about him. Yeah, but go down the very end of the song. It's just like there are no lyrics. It's just like
Yeah.
Anyways,
I mean, I love the vocal production also. It's kind of like very off in the distance and
Yeah.
like very ethereal sounding. But
you should look into him how he's like recording it because that's all him.
yeah, I was listening to a bunch of stuff.
Well,
afterwards.
no. I mean, like how he's recording it. It's him.
Oh, yeah.
He holds himself off away. He's got a little bit of money, right? And so he just finds like a really nice, cool hipster place to stay alone by himself, and then he'll just stay there for like a year or so, and then write an album and come out with it.
Oh wow.
And that's really cool.
Yeah, my only complaint with the
Here we
song
go.
is that there's like this 4-minute kind of like disorienting kind of sound that starts to happen where it's like I don't know, it just lasts way too long, and then it's
Oh, you're talking about that where it sounds like it's just like repeating.
yeah,
over and
almost
over and
like
over again?
yeah, almost like what happens in.
Have you seen the music video for it yet?
No.
The music video. Did you see it either?
No.
Okay. It's literally about him, about like a character having a heart attack and dying, and so that like little is
Oh,
him
I
like
see.
dying
So
and stuff
in
like
the
that.
context of the video, it makes more sense.
And the music video is really cool, but he didn't write it for the music video. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just a lot of drugs, I guess, or something. I don't know.
That was my only complaint. I thought they could have ended it before that, and it would have been fine. But I mean,
that was so cool about it. Is that
I took it as like just let things happen.
Yeah.
And throughout, obviously that's the name.
yeah,
of
it's in the song. Let it happen.
So-
but yeah, let things happen.
But throughout my life, whenever I've tried to push hard on something and force something, it just never turned out right. But when I just like let things happen, just go with the flow, it was always the best.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
You're a big lyrics guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, so is he.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the lyrics of the song too, for sure. I'm really big into keyboards, synthesizer stuff, and everything like that. So that's what did it for me.
Yeah.
Everybody wins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's great. So does it make the playlist?
Yeah, 100%.
Give it a thumbs up to the camera.
It's kind of
Thumbs
like
up.
a Zeppelin thing too, where it was
Right?
like different movements and parts throughout
That's what I liked about it. You know, like you recommended another Tame Impala song. You recommended that Tame Impala song a few weeks ago when Sailor Jane was here.
Which one?
I
No,
think
that was Matt DeMarco.
Mac DeMarco, and like it was again all the synths and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
that's not the stuff that I don't like the stuff that you show me that I don't like, where it just sits there. It's like it's the same thing the whole time.
Same thing the whole time.
What I liked about this is that the sounds were very creative, the production was very creative.
Yeah.
And then but the song itself was also like it was a very well arranged and
You think it's one of the
thought out
best
song.
songs of all time is "Smooth" by Santana. I'm sorry, Rob Thomas.
I didn't-
No, wait, Santana featuring Rob Thomas.
I didn't say it was one of the best songs of all time.
Because of the changes.
I do like the changes though. There's some cool changes. Have you played that song before?
I have, but it's been a long time.
Yeah, it's got some for a pop tune. You know what I mean? It's got
It's
some
like Latin type changes, right? Like
Yeah.
A minor after E kind of thing.
Yeah, but then they do like there's like a walk down and it goes like this minor 2/5 kind of thing, and then there's like I think there's like an E sus. I don't know. It's like a cool like little B half diminished. Yeah, but it's like a 2/5 though to the
Okay.
Yeah,
In
so-
the key A.
yeah. So
So is it in A?
yeah, it's an A minor. Yeah, so
yeah.
it's yeah. So it's a minor
perfect
2/5
pitch over
movement.
here.
So
Call that.
Not even close.
yeah, so I don't know, shit like that. I just when I find those kind of nuggets in pop tunes, I like that. You know what I mean? So and that kind of just adds a little bit more of the, I don't know, that cool factor to me.
You can't just have a Coke. You have to tell me all the
I have to have
ingredients.
the whiskey
in
in it also.
You can't. No, you have to have all the ingredients listed out and talk about it.
Yeah.
Just drink the Coke. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
saying?
for
I
sure.
love Stevie Wonder songs because he does the same thing. Like, I wish more pop music was like that.
Yeah, he's ridiculous. All
Yeah.
the changes he does.
And Sir Duke is in the key of B, and then he throws in this F minor.
Oh yeah.
It's like that has no, like,
Get out of here.
theoretical. You would never think of that.
Totally.
And but it worked, and it's awesome.
He kind of, he's one of the few artists that's found pop success that just did whatever they wanted and
Yeah.
just like what's that man? I forget what the album was. Our friend Keith, the bass player in a band called the River Rats up out of Asheville. We were staying at his house one weekend when we were playing up that way. He showed us this one record. Can't remember what it's called right now.
Yeah, I do remember we were playing poker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that night.
And there's like just one tune on there. It's a straight up like jazz fusion tune, and you're just like, how does this guy have?
We're not gonna remember.
I know. I'll remember if I see it. It is a popular record.
Dude,
I
look
think
at all the
it
albums
was
he
up
has.
towards the top of that though. Let's see.
Good for him. It was a Hotter Than July.
No, Inner Visions. I think it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
Inner Visions. It's got like I mean some super hip shit on there.
Yeah.
Let's Get
and-
Living for the City's on there.
Yeah, which is another amazing song.
Great song.
So yeah, I don't know. It's
Diagram.
just it's the fact that he's able to get away with that kind of stuff and still find that kind of pop success, and also can play Spain on the harmonica, the chromatic harp, which is insane too.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You know,
He kind of reminds me of Thundercat a little bit.
yeah, he's
Or the other way around. Sorry, Thundercat reminds me of Stevie Wonder.
yeah,
Because he does that when he played at Ponte Vedra. You know who Thundercat is?
Yeah, the bass player.
The bass player, like he's just ridiculous, and he writes all these like kind of cool, catchy pop songs. Then you go to see him, and he does like a 30-minute jazz
Yeah.
session. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I saw that one video where it was him, Domi, and JD Beck with
Yeah.
Ariana Grande singing.
that
Yes,
was
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Like, what?
yeah.
She's actually a really amazing singer
Oh,
too.
she's incredible.
Who knows? They're all just fake. They're not faking it. They're all just masking that. They're just incredible musicians. Just to like, we know how to actually do this and write pop songs.
Yeah, I mean most of the hired guns that you see
Yeah.
on those gigs are like the best musicians in the world.
Yeah.
They're but they use them for those scenarios because the music is so it's easy, but at the same time the productions are not like the live productions are sometimes multi-million-dollar productions, so they need to go off without a hitch.
Yeah.
So they need the top people to just that they need that headroom. It's like, we know that you can do all this shit, but we just need you to play like this. You know what I mean? Because it needs to go off without a hitch. So it's kind of wild. You think about it. But so anyways, I wanted to talk to you briefly before we go on to like your background and all that stuff. You were signed with UAA Music.
Mm-hmm.
So what was that experience like?
So
It was a record label, by the way. I should mention. I didn't say that, but
yeah, that was in
Is it
2013.
United Artists? What's UA?
Yeah, it was like United Artists Alliance.
Oh, okay.
But it wasn't the United, like the big one.
Yeah, sorry.
So it was a company out of LA, I think, as well.
Yeah, that's what I read.
And so yeah, it was surprising, like It's first time I had gone through that process of like officially being with a label and seeing how the little details mattered so much. Everything from a photo shoot, they're making sure I didn't have anything that had labels on it and stuff like that, to the shows that they would put on and how everything was meticulously set up. But with them, for the most part, they just took the music that I had already recorded and put it out there.
Distributed it, and this is, so you said you signed with them in 2013.
Yeah.
This is like kind of right when streaming was starting to become the thing, right?
I guess so, yeah.
So were they able to? It probably wasn't as sophisticated at that point as it is now. But I mean, was that like an aspect of their distribution? Were they like getting your stuff on there and like able to like get you visibility on those platforms?
Kinda.
Yeah.
They ended up like going defunct a couple years later.
Yeah.
So I didn't really realize a lot from that experience as far as them putting out, because the plan was that not only was I going to be they were going to be promoting my original stuff, but I was also going to be contributing to a lot of the other artists on the album.
Okay.
And yeah, before a lot of that really got to take off and was going, they were just disappearing.
Wow. I guess it's kind of typical of like smaller labels, though, right? I mean, it's hard to keep that stuff going, especially nowadays where it's like you can't really produce a record or like finance a record and then expect a return on sales anymore. Doesn't really happen.
No.
So I'm genuinely curious about the role that labels play today and how they recoup their investment.
I like, there was a report that just came out a couple days ago that showed the independent artists how much that has grown and how much labels are not needed as much anymore.
Yeah.
Because even when you do have, when you are represented by a label, unless you're one of their top artists, you just usually everything that you make is going to go right back to them to pay for all their expenses. And I mean, I can do that myself.
Right.
I got my 38 cents from Spotify this month.
Right. You're banking, bro.
I'm banking.
You should see our fucking bank account from that. Yeah, like and there's also like other ways. I feel like private investors are another way to go as well. And there's just like a lot of different avenues to explore now, because there's ways that you can like to limit the way you pay back a label to just record sales or now streaming. Really, it seems like that's a life sentence almost, because it pays virtually nothing unless you're getting like hundreds of thousands of streams. You're not really seeing a huge check from that. You know?
I'd have to imagine they got their hands in the pockets of either people that own or not own, but like curate playlists and stuff like that, and they're able to give money that way.
Yeah.
And then also, like I'm sure you do make a lot of money. Well, probably not even that much money off Spotify when you got like 1 billion plays or whatever. But it's supposed to be for getting you to come to the show and buy the merch and everything like that. So yeah, it really does suck, because that's kind of out of the picture now, isn't it?
Okay, that means that the label has to recoup it on that end then, which already sucks, because if you're operating at that level, you have representations, right? So you have like management and booking, which both of those off the top are taking their whatever 15-20% sometimes. So that's 40% of your check from that night going to them, and then you got to cut the label in on top of that. You might be making half of whatever you're, whatever you made at the door, guarantees, whatever. So it just seems like it seems like almost just a useless endeavor to get linked up with a label.
Yeah, well, with that said, like I do have friends that that have done very well, and usually what ends up happening is like 10, 15 years after they've had like a repertoire built up, and then they just keep compounding on top of that. At that point, then I know quite a few people that have done extremely well.
So
And
it's a long-term
it's
investment then
very
for them.
long term. And then I have a couple other friends that write for a lot of the major country acts,
Yeah.
and they've got platinum albums themselves because they got the credits, the writing credits, and this is a whole another stream of revenue.
Yeah,
kind of different
totally.
way.
Totally. Yeah, and I guess that if you have like the real value they offer, like the resources, right? So it's like a label has, they have the resources, they have access to management companies and booking agencies and publishing companies and all the ways to get yourself out there,
Right.
that you might not have access to yourself, So, which
And then a little bit of grease on the wheel with all the money that they did have before.
right,
And if anything, they're taking away all the production that they used to do before, which was paying the retail outlets like Walmart and FYE and all those places like that to put their album in there, and then
Right.
also produce the actual physical thing
and they're also
and
not
distribution. So
and they're also not really engaging like in artist development anymore.
so all
either,
that money
Right.
may have gone to something else, which probably would be to the curating of the playlist, and then also somehow it's just all advertisement at this
advertising,
point. It's
and-
a weird thing to even call a label anymore.
Yeah, well,
Like,
because
what do
and-
they?
and-
Yeah, what do they do?
well, because also like the deals aren't what they were,
Right.
30 years ago. So it's not like you sign a contract and then they're going to develop you and then you get $1 million advance to write a record and if it, make it back because you're on sales, right? So like if you want to work with a label, you have to already have developed your brand.
Yeah.
So they're saving a lot of money and time and resources on that end of it. Plus, they're only cutting you maybe like a $50,000 deal now, right? Versus like $500,000 or $1 million. So it's much easier to recoup that when you're spending twice when you're spending that same amount on advertising on the platforms and especially the streaming services. It becomes much easier to recoup $100,000.
Yeah.
When most of the work has already been done for you. So it's kind of still a pretty profitable racket. You know what I mean?
Sure. The last thing I'll say about it is that they were always the one on the cutting edge, like in front of everybody from the beginning, almost the gatekeepers of music
Yeah,
back
they
in
were,
like the
yeah.
90s and 2000s before streaming. So you gotta imagine that they were pivoting before anybody else was.
Oh, for sure.
So I think they're doing all right.
Yeah, they are. I think there was a number that I read recently.
But I could be wrong. Like you said, there's an article coming out, right? That doesn't look very good. Or there's no
Oh,
reason
no,
to
no,
do it now.
The record labels were still doing very well.
Oh, okay,
But
they're
they were
doing
showing the amount of independent artists in the past, I think it was maybe the past 5 years, how they used a pretty low bar. It was like the number of people on Spotify that made over $10,000. And the number of that, I think, is like 2 million people total
$10,000 over what period of time?
a year.
A year, okay.
Yeah, and then it went up to how many made 100,000, 500,000, million, and they had a graph that just showed the independent artists, and it was growing the whole time.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was growing more down on the low end, but it was definitely growing in
Yeah.
all aspects.
I mean, steady growth is better than no growth. And I think the number that I saw was something like labels are, and you guys can fact check me on this. I think something that labels are making like $100 million collectively an hour off of streaming platforms.
How's that possible?
It's a collect the entire label industry, not just like one label.
An hour?
Yeah, you can fact check me on that for sure.
A
but
hundred million?
Pretty sure I saw that.
So it's $2.4 billion a day?
I could be wrong about
Yeah,
that.
it sounds like you're wrong.
Well, it depends on it depends on how many label. I mean, I don't know the amount of labels that are out there.
Maybe
but
you're
like,
right. That would be crazy.
The
That's
major,
right.
like the major ones, though. Obviously, you know what I mean.
I just don't really get.
Over $1 million per
$1
hour.
million
Sorry, not
per
100
hour.
million. But still,
Yeah.
that's insane. Major labels now earn over.
It's like 100 times less insane, though.
Okay. I'm curious. Is that like every individual label at that level is making $1 million an hour, or collectively the
It
industry?
looks like it was collectively.
That's still pretty wild.
I was
though.
gonna say
Yeah.
what you said about the Spotify artists that make over $10,000 a year selling or off of streams. which is interesting to think about it in that light, because now thinking about making $10,000 a year off of selling albums is crazy. But like 10, 15 years ago, that wasn't crazy.
No.
That's selling 1,000 albums for $10 a pop. All
Look
right,
at that though.
what?
Yeah.
Earned $22.9 million a day
In streaming revenue, but is that for just music or is that for all like?
Oh, like Netflix and stuff.
Yeah,
too.
Sony I think owns Seinfeld. You know, Universal owns everything, but maybe not. I could be wrong. I don't know.
That's wild.
An artist, 0.003 cents per stream.
I mean, you know.
That's where my 38 cents came from.
That's a lot though, because you gotta get into the thousands. So that's a lot of streams, man.
All right.
Yeah,
so
it's pretty much
anyways,
pointless
yeah,
to make money off of music anymore. So.
Well, just as far as selling records go, yeah, it's really just an avenue to. I mean, really, where you're gonna start making your money is social media.
Social media and performing and advertising.
Performing is not even that certain anymore because of COVID. You know what I mean? It's like if you're a band that before COVID was selling out, you know, theaters or like even like big clubs, right? If you're you're able to get back to work and make it a profitable endeavor right now. If you're bands like us that were playing small clubs and barely like
elevators
and barely getting like an audience out there, like we can't really rely on that, right? Because like some of the restrictions that are still in place really deter a lot of people from going out to shows. But if you're playing a theater and you know that holds 5,000 people and that deters, let's say 10% of that, right? That artist is still crushing it that night. But if you are playing a small club and it deters, you know, 10%, or you know, if you have 30 people coming out and so you've never been to, that deters 10 people from coming out. That's a huge chunk of your revenue right there for the night. So it's just not like a profitable endeavor right now to be on the road touring. So like really, social media is the way to do it. They pay out much better numbers than streaming, like YouTube. TikTok right now, I think, is the highest paying out of all the
really more than
platforms.
YouTube.
Yeah, they signed a $50 billion deal with Sony like 2 years ago or something, or like a year ago.
Oh, TikTok did.
Yeah, so I mean, like.
And then apparently, it's just a rumor that they're gonna get bought by Instagram too.
I don't know anything.
I saw
about
that twice on TikTok today, or by Meta,
Meta is everything.
Marky Mark's ruling the world. You want to talk about an empire? That guy.
He's crushing it.
Good for him, though. He really deserves that.
So I want to get into some of your background. I know we talked a little bit about, you know, your upbringing and coming from a musical family. Yeah. So where'd you grow up?
A little town called Demopolis, Alabama.
Okay.
So it's on the Mississippi border, right in the center of the state. Little rural town. There weren't any professional musicians that I knew of. There were a couple people that played at the church on the side, different churches, but I didn't know anybody. Everybody, the people that did play music, just kind of a side thing. So I grew up, my dad is a singer, mainly soul music. We had just one radio station in town, and thankfully it was like an oldies that played a lot of soul on there. So I was just inundated with that. And my dad, between that and like the Eagles and things, that's what was around the house all the time. So just grew up playing. My brother played a little bit. And when I went to Auburn, I initially went for pharmacy, but realized that I did not want to do just counting pills and chemistry all my whole life. So I took the plunge. I was like, I'm going to do jazz. And my mother was like, what are you going to do with that?
So count notes instead.
And my brother was like, just let him do what he wants to do. And thankfully, like my parents, they always told me I had to go to college. And my mom was a English professor at a local college. So it was always understood that I had to go to college. But I also had to pay for it myself. And I had a couple little scholarships, but the vast majority of it, I had to pay for it. And so that led me to just, I'm paying for it. I'm going to study what I want to study. So so I did that and studied jazz at Auburn. ended up graduating Auburn in the 90s and stayed there. I lived in Auburn for about 12 years and then moved to Jacksonville in 2005 and started up a school of music in 2006 and built that up. And during that time, I was playing off and on with different bands throughout, mainly in Jacksonville, but throughout the Southeast, and just contributing to different recording things. People would hire me for recording stuff. And then sold the business in 2019 and decided to go back into music full time. Right out of college, and during college, I was playing 4 or 5 nights a week all over the Southeast with a jam band called Sweet River Banes. And Auburn, so Auburn's pretty close to Atlanta. And so we play basically all the college towns, Athens, Auburn, Tuscaloosa, and Oxford, where Ole Miss is, Mobile. And I remember Widespread Panic just being essentially a local band. And they would play at the same little clubs in the early 90s that we were at. So, but then once Jerry Garcia died, they just exploded. So we kind of rode their coattails and played a lot of the same festivals and venues and a lot of their music. So kind of part of that scene.
Were you guys writing your own stuff?
It was probably 90% covers.
Okay.
Between like Widespread Panic, Dave Matthews, that kind of stuff.
You're a Dave Matthews fan?
Not really.
Fuck yeah.
God damn it.
I'm not like against him.
Yeah.
But
am.
I just he's not somebody that I just bring up on my phone.
Yeah, I feel you. Billy hates him. He thinks he's the worst musician of all time.
No, I think he's great. Some of those songs, like I really enjoy playing. We played quite a bit of his.
What was it like coming up in Demopolis? Is that where you got your start, like gigging around town, or was it like when you were in Auburn that you started?
It was
gigging?
when I was at Auburn. So there's nowhere to play in Demopolis. My father and his group would play. They would travel around. Maybe there was like 1 or 2 little clubs that they would play, but they did a lot of weddings and that kind of stuff too. So yeah, there was just nothing happening there. And but when I went to Auburn, my dad asked me to join his band. So I would drive home or wherever they were, usually about every weekend. And I did that for a couple of years.
Okay.
But yeah, my hometown is it's a unique place. You definitely have the Southern hospitality and the friendliness, but it's had a lot of issues in the past I had to work through. One of them being like my friends and I, we created the first ever integrated prom in 1992.
Really?
Yeah. So before that, it was only like a white prom and a black prom. And I decided, I was like, no, this was wrong. So, and the school wouldn't do a prom at all. They didn't want to get involved in it. So we convinced the school, listen, we have to do this. And we created the first integrated prom.
What year was that?
92.
What?
That's wild. So was this like a state like a state law that there wasn't allowed to be integrated, or just happened to be that there was no?
No.
The school had to be integrated, but yeah, that makes sense.
What would happen
Jesus.
is that people would say, and it was very racist undertones. You could read right through it, but they would say, "Oh, they like their rap, we like our bands," right? And that's how we're gonna have a part, but it was like invite only, at either the country club or the main civic center. So we created, it was me and a couple of my friends, we created the first integrated prom, and that year they ended up having 3 proms. And
A black one, a white one, and then
and then
integrated one.
one.
Wow.
And I was one of the only people that only went to the integrated prom, me and my couple of friends. So, but yeah, that continued, from what I understand, for the next couple of years. in that way. And then they finally just went to just the integrated prom. But I heard recently that it's maybe even changed back to where they're doing the whole
Is it
white prom
Is it
again.
a private school? That's insanity.
Yep.
It's Alabama.
Yep.
That's insanity.
They didn't have African American football player at Alabama until the 70s.
Right.
Even though Jackie Robinson played for the Brooklyn Dodgers and integrated baseball in like the 40s.
Is it a public college?
Yes.
Yeah, that's probably
That's insane.
Yeah.
African Americans couldn't even play in the city square park 2 blocks from my house until 1972. There was a big pool. I grew up right on the river. Behind our house is a field, and then there's a river, beautiful, with like probably 30, 40-foot white chalk bluffs. And they had a pool there. Well, once integration happened, rather than going along with it, they just filled in the pool, covered it up, got rid of it, and opened up a new pool on like the all white side of town, and just called it the private pool.
So that's the workaround.
Yeah,
Yeah, because the government technically wasn't allowed to. They're not allowed to discriminate like that.
yeah.
So that's like the workaround. That's insane.
Private
Yep.
schools popped up during that time, and
And this is what year is this?
that was also in the 70s.
70s. Okay, so it's not as surprising in the 70s just because like
All I'm hearing is the best decade ever. Is what you said.
well for music is what I said. For music is what I
Oh,
said.
for music.
Yeah,
But
it was great for music.
it's not as
Sorry.
surprising in the 70s because I feel like there was a lot of, even though federally like there were laws passed, I feel like it always takes a while for things to kind of catch up. Not saying obviously it's a terrible thing regardless, but it's much more surprising that dynamic was still existing in the 90s though.
Right.
So yeah, because I mean like my dad has the same kind of stories. He grew up he's from Cuba, but like he grew up in Miami mostly, and they didn't start desegregating schools down there till like the early 70s.
Right.
And so the first year that they did desegregation was his first year of high school, and it was like 1971, 72.
Yeah.
Those laws had been passed way before already.
Yeah, I think it was like 68 when Lyndon Johnson signed it all into, but yeah, it took a couple years.
Yeah, so that's not so surprising. It's terrible either way, but like the 90s though, that was happening. That's insanity.
Yep.
You know.
It's all the workarounds and stuff that
Yeah.
they were doing.
Yeah.
Good lord.
So my town I grew up in, it's this dichotomy in that it was like diverse in that half of the city was African Americans and half were white. Well, and then there was like one Puerto Rican family and one Indian family. But so at the same time, like if you did not fall into that, and it was really deep seated into just so many fabrics of our society up until this day. But and then also, there were a lot of overt racist things, and there was a lot of very subtle racist things. But if you avoided that stuff, then you really got to experience each other as far as racist in a very close and personal way. But yeah, it took me really opening myself up and saying like this can't be right, and really putting myself out there to meet and become friends with people of other races, to realize like this is all just a lie, like the things that I'd heard over the years. And yeah, so there were some pivotal moments. That Indian family, he's one of my best friends to this day. The things that some of my friends had to go through, it's just not right. But and my wife is Dominican. She's from the Dominican Republic, and that opened up a whole new world to me too. We met at Auburn.
It's interesting, man, because I have like the exact opposite story of that, and partially because it was I I went to high school, I graduated 2007, so it was a little bit later on. But also because I grew up in South Florida, where the majority of the population is Latin, and then the next majority is black, and then the minority is white. So it was like the exact opposite kind of like thing, and we would have um, it was always weird because like I'm Cuban, but like I don't speak Spanish, so you would get the like you didn't it wasn't like cool to be white, right? Like you didn't want to be white, like you were like the square like not cool person, like you couldn't dance, you didn't listen to good music, it was all just like you're very whatever. And then so I was always like, oh, I'm Cuban, I'm not white, I'm Cuban. But then it was they started to speak to me in Spanish, and I couldn't like respond, and it was like, oh well, you're not fucking Cuban, like. So you start like people started to deny your heritage. Well, it's like, well, I'm celebrating all the traditions at home. Like all my family speaks
Man,
Spanish.
I'm getting goosebumps right now.
You know what I mean?
My,
It's
my son deals with the same thing.
really
Yeah, because
he's half Dominican, yeah.
yeah, and he identifies as a Dominican, but he doesn't speak Spanish fluently. You know, he can understand like better than I can, but he doesn't speak it like. But he has lived the Latin heritage his whole life. He's been to the Dominican Republic twice a year and Puerto Rico his entire life. You know, his mother makes Dominican food and Caribbean food for him, and we celebrate Three Kings and all these different things that are like,
Noche Buena and the whole thing.
yeah. So he battles with that too because he wants to make sure that he's not like appropriating the culture, but it is who he is. But when he's very fair skinned, he's got blue eyes, blonde hair, and when he tells people, "Yeah, I'm Dominican," it's the same thing. It's like, are you?
Yeah, which is a real bad feeling, right? Because it's like okay, but I celebrate the traditions, and I don't identify with the quote unquote whatever the white culture is, right? Like, but like if it's very I mean white culture and black culture are very similar, especially in the South as far as like the food that they eat and a lot of the traditions that are being celebrated. So it's like you don't celebrate those traditions, right? But at the same time, your own your own people don't look at you as like part of their culture, but just because you don't speak the language. So it's like there's this thing where it's like, well, I don't listen to Leonard Skinner and I don't barbecue, right? But at the same time, I do eat, a lot of Latin food, and we celebrate Noche Buena, and we do all the traditions. And but I'm not like allowed to call myself that either because I don't speak the language or I don't look the part, right? So there's this very weird kind of thing of just not knowing exactly like where your place is, right?
Yeah,
So.
I'm sorry you had to deal with that.
I mean, it's not even it's just the reality of the situation, right? But it's just interesting to hear like the other side of it because technically South Florida is like as far south as it gets.
Yeah.
But culturally,
Southern Florida.
yeah. But culturally, it's so far removed from the South. So when I came to Jacksonville and saw the dynamic shift,
Oh yeah.
people were saying all these things, about this group or that group. And it was so, like, if you did see that kind of dynamic in South Florida, it was very small pockets, and like you were like in the Everglades. You find the swamp people, and it gets real weird out there.
Yeah.
But
Wow,
like,
and Davy.
no, Davy was a small pocket in the suburbs that was real. That was like real, quote unquote southern, right? But like that wasn't. You got to the Everglades, out to the swamp, you'll get the Confederate flags and all that stuff. It gets real weird out there.
Who the hell wants to live out there anyway?
Exactly.
Whatever. You can have it.
But it's just when I came here and then like even listening to your reading your story and everything, like that was so far away. In fact it was the opposite, so it's wild.
That's why I wrote that essay that you're referring to is because at that time, that's when there was a big push to remove these Confederate statues. Mm-hmm. And I was seeing people say, racism's been gone, blah, 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 blah. It's a thing of the past. Why are we dragging this all back up? And I was like, no, it's very well here right now.
Totally.
and it's just hidden under the rug. But I've never heard anybody else from my background speak up about it. It's like we all hear it, we all know what's going on, but it's like nobody wants to just say like, no, this shit's going on and it's wrong. So yeah, that was big reason why I wrote that, and it's just called racism and a way forward in my life in the South or something. But yeah, so my wife, she moved from the Dominican Republic to Gainesville, Georgia.
Oh, fuck.
And she went to a boarding school at high school there. And you know, you understand this, but people would say, "Where in Mexico are you from exactly?"
Yeah.
You know, and like, do you speak Mexican and things like
Yeah.
that. And then a lot of the stuff, you know, a lot of that was just based on ignorance, but some of the stuff was like actually hurtful and like, you know, there's a level of racism in the Dominican Republic as well,
Yeah.
but everywhere, you know, everywhere in the world. But
Latins are notorious for that shit, man.
yeah,
Big time. Unfortunately, it just is what it is. But yeah.
yeah, and but it's different and like it's not as much of a hatred thing as like it is.
It's a class thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, big time. Because my stepmom's from Venezuela, and so the way she talks about it there, and the same way my dad describes it in Cuba, is like, I'm not gonna say it because it doesn't translate well in the U.S. But there are certain terms of endearment that they use, right? And there's a very welcoming and kind of I don't know, familial relationship when it comes to people of different races in those countries. However, there's an understanding that you have a certain role in society,
Yeah.
right? And that's the difference. You know, like my abuela would say stuff like when I was growing up, like, you know, and she was an amazing person, right? They came here they had a lot of money in Cuba. They came here very poor. They worked, they did the thing, and raised a great family. My dad passed that tradition on, but you know, a different time, right? And she would just like, she'd see like, you know, rappers on television. I just don't know why they need to be on TV, like things like that, you know. And it's just, so you hear shit like that, and it's just like, it's you of all people moving to Miami in the early '60s before it was, you know, what it is now, right?
Right.
And like you dealing with that kind of discrimination, because my dad dealt with it too. You know, he got beat up. I mean, he got it from all angles: black gangs, white gangs. Like nobody wanted them there. You know what I mean? So, and then you're gonna have that. You're gonna keep the same mindset going. You know what I mean? So yeah.
And she probably didn't even realize she said it.
She had no idea. She didn't know what she was saying was incorrect because in their world it's just like, yeah, of course like we're all cool. It's all fair, but like it's like you're at a different level of status in society. So you don't like, why do you get the same, like you shouldn't get the same platform. It's very strange, you know. As Americans, we don't fully grasp that kind of dynamic or that way of thinking. So yeah, it's wild, you know what I mean?
Thankfully, it's changing. It's slowly, you know, but these last decade or whatever, like it just stirred up so much. I think though, it was like always up under the rug,
Totally.
and the rug just got lifted up, and then all of a sudden it's like, there it is. Now we either have to let it infest our nation and just kind of grow and get even more dirt, or we do something about it, sweep it up, get rid of it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, like we haven't swept it up. It's like I had hoped we would.
I don't think it's gonna get swept up. I think what will happen is that I think that there's much less of those people than there are of like accepting people and just like more enlightened people. And I think that that's just gonna get at some point phased out. You know what I mean? Rather than like sweet, like taking, like if you think about like, you know, like imagine like a pile of dirt in your house, right? And there's like a force that's gonna sweep it away immediately. Well, that's not gonna happen.
Right.
But what will happen over time is that there will be a force of nature that removes it naturally.
Yeah.
And it just takes a lot longer for that to happen.
But it
But
happens.
it happens.
You know, I've seen it just in my life, when I was growing up in the 80s, it was very commonplace for people to just be openly homophobic
Yeah.
on TV, wherever.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, watch Eddie Murphy's Raw.
Exactly.
Oh, my God.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And to see like how those things have changed, systemically, there's still a lot wrong. I wrote a piece. So my son, he went to a magnet school, and he tested really highly and ended up going to this magnet school. So when we get there, we see, and I was also in a, what they call like a gifted program in my high school, and starting from 4th grade. But in my school, you got to remember it's 50-50 as far as white kids and black kids. And in this gifted program, it's probably like 90-10. And at the time, as a 8, 9, 10-year-old, you don't even think about it, right? Looking back on it, it's like, oh, that was really jacked up. Well, my son's program here in Jacksonville, I go, and it's the same way. And I'm like, no, something's not right, because how can, I know unequivocally that's just not the right way. So we started looking at the way that you get into those programs is that starting in like 1st and 2nd grade, a teacher has to recommend you get tested. And then if a teacher doesn't recommend you get tested, you have to go to a psychiatrist and pay for it yourself and get tested. So the schools that were recommending the testing and the teachers that were recommending the testing, they weren't testing. One of my best friends, is a local drummer. He went to the same gifted school, but he got put it in the academically talented. So what they do is, like, if you have really high grades, they put you in academically talented. If you have high grades, but you also got tested and you scored high on your IQ test, then you get put in gifted. Well, the kids in the academically talented didn't get tested. It's not that they scored less, they just didn't get tested. And then, so you say, okay, well, they're still an academically talented, right? At his school, the academically talented was probably like 80% black kids here in Jacksonville. And the gifted was like 80% white kids. So why is that wrong? It's still academically talented and gifted. Well, to be gifted, the teachers have to have additional training. Those are the top teachers in the city. So those kids are receiving schooling from the top teachers that receive the most training. That's happening right now.
Yeah.
At like here.
In the South, yeah. Who would have guessed?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all. Racism is just so. Obviously, it's like an easy fucking thing to say. It's just so stupid, but it's just like the lowest. Like, you have the lowest brow of fucking discrimination. It's like, it's just so easy because
So
I can
surface.
just look at you and I can see something and I'm like, yeah, I don't like the way you look. That's the end of
You
it.
tell me that all the time, actually.
Well, because mostly that tattoo. But the whole point is that I think that the if you could just see stupid, the world would be so much better. Without a doubt. If that's what fucking came to surface,
What would your solution to that problem be?
I don't know.
No, let's talk about that. For
everybody
a second.
gets-
Because you told me in the van. What
I
your
would
solution to
say
that
I would
problem
say
be.
anybody who had like any sort of forearm tattoo here
Yeah.
would be stupid.
Yeah. Well, I will say that a 15-year-old kid who's doing a lot of drugs is kind of stupid. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. And everybody in the world has mistakes.
Yeah.
But tattoos are just mistakes everybody can see.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, so I see what you're saying. Yeah. That's good.
All right,
But
thanks.
what's your solution to the problem, though? Because you told me this in the
There
van
is no
one time.
solution to the problem. Everybody just stop being a fucking dick, and that's the end of
You
it.
said, that
Quit being.
you said that we should segment all those people off into an island. You did say that to me.
He thinks.
I'm not doing a bit
no,
here. You
mean all
actually
the,
said that.
All the
Stupid
races.
People. No, all the stupid people.
No.
You said that.
What?
I'm not even doing a bit here. You said that.
No, he
You
is
did.
doing a bit.
No,
I never
You for sure said that.
What that all
Oh, that
the
all stupid people
stupid
should
people-
be put onto an island.
An island.
And then removed from society. They could all just be stupid together on that island. And then that with the rest of the people. But I'm also curious about what your metric of stupidity is.
Forearm tattoos.
Forearm tattoos. Yeah.
I never said that.
Yeah,
That's
you did say it.
ridiculous.
You did say it. But
That's ridiculous. No, I didn't. Don't let that. I'm not gonna let that stand, man. I never said that.
But yeah, man, it's wild, like the kind of shit that's still like happening right now, you know. But yeah, I personally believe that a lot of that is, I mean, it's technically systemic in the way that like the people that work in the system are making judgment calls, right? Nothing on the books is per se saying that it has to be done this way.
Exactly.
But and that's the distinction that I typically make. So, but the problem is that you have people in positions of power that are, you know, based off preconceived notions, or, you know, there's also this tribalism thing, you know, like the dominant culture in America as a whole, on a macro level, is white, you know. So and just naturally people tend to favor people that look like them and have the same values of them, come from the same places as them. So that's like an inevitable outcome of a majority rule of one culture. But then on a or on a micro level, that power shifts in certain places. I couldn't get a job growing up down south until I was like old enough to like really have a real opinion about something and convince people to get a job, right? Because I couldn't speak Spanish. Like there was no way it was happening. I had to start off, like my first like real job where I worked at for a long time was when I was 20 years old, and it was at Sam Ash in Miami, and they started me in the warehouse until I could like prove that I could go out on the floor, and I did my part to learn as much Spanish as I could to like get by or whatever. But you know, and I would imagine in New York, there's a similar thing. In LA, there's a similar like major metropolitan cities where you know it's not the same kind of dynamic. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
And that's a little bit different too, because it's based off of a skill set that's needed for that job. Here's another example. So when I was with the chair for the Arts Advisory Council for Duval County Schools, we had on our board different people from the community, and some of those were also teachers. And we had a teacher at Rebought over here that her classes, so she was teaching band, and her classes would be like 70 kids. They had no instruments. The instruments that they did have were busted up and broken. They weren't receiving proper funding. But then if you go to a school that's, you know, at the beaches, it wasn't that same.
right.
So like those kind of little things are happening too. They just have to figure it out and work it out. And the good thing is that it's being called, you know, people are working to make those changes, and little by little those changes are happening. Like you said, it just takes a long time, but during that time it's kids' lives, you know, it's people's lives.
Totally. I mean, and yeah, it's the unfortunate kind of reality of letting nature take its course. I think that when we see people try and force things down people's throats, we see a huge backlash.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we've noticed that, you know, you know, with our last president and the way he emboldened a group of people to just come out because he was saying how much one side was trying to shove it down people's throats and how that wasn't fair. And that's like, oh, well, now we're going to go and shove it down their throats and we're going to storm the Capitol now all of a sudden.
Pendulum was just swinging back and forth.
You can't, like, you know, in my mind, there's a judgment call to be made when you're in positions, you know, in politics like that, where it's like we can either force this thing onto the population and you're going to see a backlash for sure, or you let nature take its course and it's a slower, more painful process, but it's the way that it's kind of supposed to happen.
And it might be more long lasting.
Yeah, it's for sure more long lasting because you don't have, because the history the history of that becomes more distant, right? If you force it to happen immediately, the history of what just happened is so recent. So there's like this whole generation of people that remember this thing as like a forceful play from like a government or whatever it might be, and they're like, well, we remember this as you infringing on our beliefs, right? But if you let it happen naturally, it kind of dissipates over time. The history, like there's no history of force making it happen, and then the history of the history just looks much better. It's like, well, this
There
was
are-
actually the right way to do it, right?
There are some occasions, like my prom. You know, we received a lot of grief for that. Like, why are you messing us up? Why are you doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Who knows how long that would have continued had we not? And there have been people way before us, like they also said, yeah, it was wrong, but like they just weren't willing to speak out about it because
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I think you kind of do have to force it.
No, I'm with you.
I
you
kind
do.
of disagree
no,
with you.
that's fine. But it doesn't. But that speaks to my point, though, right? Because what you did was you offered an alternative, right? But the other things didn't cease to exist right away, right? You didn't come in and say this can't happen anymore.
right.
We're gonna do it this way.
Exactly.
That would have been the thing that would have clashed and made your thing not work, like maybe ever. Like it probably would have gone back the other way, right?
Yeah.
But like what you did was like, okay, well this exists, and now I'm going to bring an alternative to the table, and then the alternative was there, and then eventually the alternative became the thing, and that's how it has to happen. You present a solution to the problem. You don't necessarily eliminate the things causing the problem right away. You let the moral judgment do its thing because it will win.
I think there are some breaking points where it's like, no, this is just evil,
Yeah.
and that has to be like a firm hand has to say no.
Yeah.
This can't happen.
Like the Holocaust for sure, right?
Right.
Like things. Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, like what you're talking about, I agree with you because otherwise you see that pendulum just swing back and forth because nobody just moves forward.
Right. People have to believe that they have a choice in the thing, right? And that's ultimately what's going to. I think that when people are given the choice, they will usually. Sorry, the majority of people will make the right decision. And that's why things like your idea of integrating the prom ended up working because the majority of people came to that conclusion.
Did we vote? Did we vote for the civil rights movement, or did the federal government put that into place?
I
What do you
mean,
mean the movement or like
Like the bill that LBJ passed. We didn't vote on that.
No, he just signed that in the law.
Exactly.
Yeah.
yeah.
I
but-
disagree with you 100%.
Okay, that's fine, and we can talk about. We don't have to get into the details of that, but
Sorry.
there's a lot of things about that that didn't
It
work
was
out
it was
either.
building up to it. They had to fight the entire way and like, do sit-ins and all that stuff. Like it wasn't
Yeah, that
an
was
easy thing. It was a huge and still
very
like
difficult. Yeah.
I think that's the way that any sort of movement works ever. Any revolution, it doesn't
I grew up-
naturally occur that way.
I grew up right by
It's not a
Selma,
revolution.
and every time I go to Auburn, I have to pass through Selma, and we'd go to Selma to go
Shoot,
to the
dude.
mall, and drive right over that bridge where Bloody Sunday happened, and you know, you get to meet a lot of people that were a part of that and went through that, and it was
I don't know.
wild times. It was
I just-
very difficult.
I kind of get what you're saying for sure
Mm-hmm.
about making things last, sort of, but
Well, also-
I don't
also
really
what
think
you're
that's how history has ever worked. Ever.
But also what you're talking about was a federal law that was passed,
Sure.
and then the states that aren't
With
obligated
Jimmy-
to
yeah.
oblige by it, which was why it took them, almost 10 years after the fact.
But it wouldn't
to
have
make
happened
it happen.
if it wasn't.
No, they presented a solution to the problem, and the states eventually followed suit because it was just the right thing to do, right? It was
Exactly.
working.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I
So
get it.
yeah, you know what I mean. So either
Well,
way,
most of them because they were losing funding.
right? Well, that's
Yeah,
yeah,
Gave
they'll
them
do it too.
consequences.
yeah. I mean, hey, money is a major contributing factor to all these things too, right? Like most people are will be accepting of any race if there's green involved.
Okay.
So I'm just saying.
Anyways,
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I mean, there's
I appreciate you bringing that subject up because
Absolutely.
it's a touchy subject that's difficult to talk about a lot of times.
Sure.
And so I appreciate that.
yeah, of course, man. I mean, it's always interesting either perspective.
there's never 100% solution to anything.
Yeah, of course.
No,
But and it's just really kind of what's not even what side you are on about it because it's just all of philosophy. But I just think fight the entire way.
Yeah,
That's the way to do it.
yeah, I agree.
But to each their own.
No, I agree with you. Fight the entire way. There's different methods of fighting. So and that's just the thing that there's always gonna be collateral damage in any way that you do it. It's just a
Yeah.
matter of what you're willing to accept as far as the thing goes.
True.
So. And that's what's so hard to be in those positions of power. Like those are the calls you have to make.
Yeah.
You know, and those are hard. I would never try to be a politician. You crazy?
Yeah.
Like I have a hard enough time just trying to figure out, hey, we have an extra X amount of money in the band fund. What are we spending it on? You know what I mean? It's
New stadium.
See my socks?
Yeah.
Got my
look at
my Lerp socks.
Hell yeah, dude. When are we getting that statue? Or did it fall through? I was really excited about that statue.
Jack's Lerp. Yeah, I am too. Like,
I think it fell through, didn't it? Can you look that up
guys
before we
big,
go to
basketball
unpopular
fans?
opinions?
yeah.
Basketball?
Well, somewhat.
That
Like Auburn's been doing good. They
I don't
got
want
beat.
to talk, I don't
got
want to talk
knocked
about
out,
that.
but,
I'm from Lexington, Kentucky, but I don't want to talk about
upset
basketball
right
right now.
yeah, so we got knocked out too. You guys got
That's
knocked
true.
out. And
I don't know anything about basketball.
Yeah.
You
Duke and North
that's the
Carolina.
Jaguars, right? That was your socks.
No, it's the Lerp.
The Lerp sign. Oh yeah, the statue.
Yeah.
Yeah. That all my friends from South Florida were giving me so much shit for that.
Yeah,
Like,
it's I thought that's what I thought is what I said, that it's not gonna happen.
what?
it got such bad publicity, man.
Somebody needs to do a Netflix about this, because that guy walked away with a lot of money for.
Where's Miles at?
Dude,
Miles will
it's
do a
cursive.
Netflix documentary about it.
Anyways,
I was kind of excited about
I
it.
was too. I was thinking, it's like, you know what, we do need a Lerp.
Yeah.
We don't.
No, but I'm
something
seriously like
iconic.
something nice, right?
No,
Yeah.
something iconic would be great, but just maybe not something
That's
that's to be
pretty
the butt of
iconic.
every joke across the country.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Come
The
see our
memes-
butt.
The memes that were made from that.
He's got socks.
Yeah. My socks literally have all the different names. Like
Here we go.
Put it up
You
for the
can pull that
camera.
thing
Let's
off?
see it.
Lerp.
So good. Lex, all the different like interpretations of it. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, that was fucking interesting.
You look great, dude.
Welcome to the bottom of the bill.
Yeah.
It's life. Well, Shawn, we appreciate you being here with us today, man.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's been a great conversation.
Please come out April 9th. Sit in with me.
Oh yeah, totally, 100%, man. That'll be a lot of fun. Oh wait, we're gonna be on the road that weekend.
No, yeah, we
Yeah,
are. Sorry.
fuck. God damn it.
Wait, you're on Saturday?
Yep.
We're playing Sunday.
We're playing
the next
Sunday.
day.
Next
Oh,
day.
Yeah.
Yeah, come sit
I
with
just
us,
realized
bro.
that.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Underbelly, April 10th with Fortune Child and Hollow House.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, so unpopular opinions.
Yeah. Lightning round of it.
Yeah.
That you want to do? I had two unpopular opinions, but since we're a little bit political, I'm gonna pick the political one today.
Okay, pick the political
All
one.
right, this is kind of a weird one. George Bush is to Donald Trump as Coldplay is to Imagine Dragons.
I don't understand that at all.
Okay, so
get it.
remember back in like the early 2000s, everybody fucking hated George W. Bush.
I don't even know who George W. Bush is.
W,
Who's that?
our president.
I don't remember him.
You don't? Are you doing
No, I'm
thing?
fucking around.
Okay, right. Jesus, before Obama, but or Byron. Sorry, I said Obama, and then Byron's. But the whole point is that like everybody hated on him, and then like doesn't even care anymore. But then now, Donald Trump is like everybody fucking hates him or hated him, I guess, because he's no more. We'll see what happens. But Coldplay back in the day too. Because I play piano, and that I was like your journey was Coldplay for me.
Clocks.
Yeah, clocks like
Heck
all
yeah.
day. Like I like the whole
I
rush
still
of blood,
play it.
rush of blood to the head, and parachutes and all that stuff. I was obsessed with them, and I was in middle school and when that came out, and what I thought was so great. I got so much shit for it. Nobody really makes fun of Coldplay anymore. They make fun of Imagine Dragons.
Yeah.
I
So
just
you feel like Imagine Dragons is the Trump of pop music?
Mhm.
Wow, that's quite a bold statement. That would have been the real.
No,
unpopular
it's
opinion.
just the George Bush of pop
No,
music.
it's actually
Except
Coldplay was George Bush of pop music.
I'm saying like that's the whole point of this. This is a bad unpopular opinion.
I mean, it's
Sorry.
par for the course with you, bro.
No, I know. I had a really good. I had a really good one. You want me to start over and do the other one?
Yeah, do that.
Fine.
Okay, I'm gonna do that. Well, only because you asked.
Okay.
Nobody gives a shit about the picture that you post on Instagram about the instruments on the stage without you on it before the show happens.
Oh, I'm feeling attacked
Get
right now.
that off.
Feeling
It's
attacked
so
right now.
stupid.
I feel a little attacked.
Yeah.
Right now.
No, it's not just you. It's every single post. It's just like, hey, we're about to set up, and it's like, and it's just, what I always imagine is it's like kind of like a Fantasia sort of world where like the instruments are the one that made the post, and like they're like talking like, can't wait to come see us, guys, and yeah, it's
what's your solution to the
don't
problem?
do it. Put a picture of the boys up there or girls or them 2022.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to say like that I hate it. It's so stupid. It makes no sense to me. Here are our instruments and we're about to play a show.
I've never even thought about it.
About doing that before?
No, about just about that.
It's just a little, grinds my gears situation.
Yeah.
Unpopular opinion.
Yeah.
There's no point to it.
Yeah, it's another terrible unpopular opinion.
No, it's not. It's a good unpopular opinion because you seem to not like it.
I don't feel that strongly about it. So it's just one of those things. That's, like you do it or you don't do it. It doesn't. You gotta post something, right?
I'm not good at this anymore.
You're terrible at this.
This is our 71st episode.
I figure you'd have it down
We
by
used
now.
to do 3 pop every single episode.
It's also
so-
our last episode of the season, which
That
we forgot
is
to
true.
mention.
We forgot to say that.
Yeah, you're our final guest of the season.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
hope it
Yeah.
was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great, man. Absolutely. This is a lot of fun. All right, so I'm going to save the day with a real unpopular opinion
Thank you,
here.
because mine
As
sucks.
always, my unpopular opinions are fucking dope.
Yeah.
And this one is that the Friday trilogy is the best trilogy.
The Friday trilogy?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's pretty unpopular.
Yeah, because Star Wars can fuck off.
Okay.
Friday trilogy is way better.
Okay. But
You know,
I like the Matrix ones too.
he's never seen
never
it.
seen any of them, so
I know.
that's another unpopular. That's not really an opinion. It's just a fact.
You've never seen any of them?
Never seen any of them. I started watching the first one because he gives me so much shit about it. So one day I started watching it a few months back, and I fell asleep.
Well, I guess like if you would have saw it at that time, that was the first time CGI had really been used.
Yeah.
And it was so wicked at that time. And then
It
just
was,
the
man.
concept of it was like, wow.
Yeah.
Like this, that's a interesting way of looking at things. Now that's like such common place stuff that maybe it's not as
Well, I mean, there's still.
moving as it was then.
I think the concept is still interesting, though, right? I mean, and like I can always look past
Are we
cheesy.
still talking about Friday or
No, the
Matrix.
Matrix. We
Oh.
we can still. I can.
CGI on Fridays through the roof?
Yeah. I can look past the cheesy special effects.
CGI
And
Fridays? Is that what you said? That's such a good band
that's
name.
good. Yeah.
CGI Fridays. All right, sorry.
I can look past. I can look past the cheesy special effects and the and like the mediocre acting if the story is that captivating.
And
Right.
that Friday does it for you.
Oh, I mean, the acting was great in Friday. Number one.
But how about like
The
I look
second and
at I look
third
yeah
one?
I look at the Fridays kind of like I do Police Academy.
Yeah.
Like I love the first one and Revenge of the Nerds. I love the first one and the second one, but the third one was like
Oh, the third one to me. Here's the next unpopular opinion is the second best one. First one is by far the best.
Yeah.
But Friday After Next was so much better than Next Friday. Like that's the order of it. It's Friday, which is by far. I mean, you can't beat Chris Tucker. He's just
Yeah.
the best. Next Friday was funny. It was good.
Has
They moved to
anybody
the
ever
suburbs.
called it a trilogy before?
No. I'm fucking making history right
Yeah.
here. And let me fucking have my moment, Bill.
Okay,
Why
go
you
ahead.
why always gotta shut me down?
Because you talk shit about Star Wars. And,
Yeah,
and
and-
Lord of the Rings at the same time.
And Friday's still the best
And
one.
The Matrix.
So Friday, obviously, you can't top that. That's a classic. But if Friday After Next was like, it was Chris, I mean, the whole thing. It's so, like, Mike Epps is so good in that one. Because, like, in Next Friday, it's like they kind of
What's his
introduced.
dad's name? In real life, I can't
man,
remember.
he just died
He just
recently.
passed away.
John-
he was
John
hilarious.
something,
John,
yeah.
yeah.
He
He
was
was
so funny.
hilarious.
But
Hot
like,
sauce on my burrito, baby.
yeah. But like, Next Friday was good, but they moved to the suburbs. They won the lottery. It's kind of funny. It's like this really hood.
Cat Williams
like,
is in it.
Yeah, no,
That's
he's in the
right.
third one. That's
I-
Friday After Next. He's in
Oh.
yeah. That's why it's another
They're
reason.
so
why.
unrememberable.
No, they're not. Usually you haven't watched them. That's all it is.
I have.
Like Next Friday was cool. Again, it's like you're in the suburbs. Like, it's like a really hood family. Just like won all this money, and they moved to the suburbs. Like they're like disturbing the neighbors. It's the whole thing. It's good. But like Friday After Next is like they're back in like the hood, and it's just like dealing with all that shit again. It's like that's just I don't know, man. It's so good, man.
I don't even know if I saw the third one now that I think about
Oh,
it.
you have to
After
watch
the second
it.
one, I was like,
No, it's so fucking. Mike Epps crushes it. It's like he was okay in the second one, but the third one he really found his character.
It
I
was
feel like.
nominated for best
I'm gonna have to go
screenplay,
watch it now.
actually.
oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I heard
but
of that. yeah.
Oscar.
Was it really?
No. You knew it won 8 Academy Awards. Return of the Damn King.
I would
dude.
fucking believe if it did, it's that good, bro. Friday is the best.
No.
That's my unpopular opinion.
All right.
Anyways, Shawn, what's your popular opinion?
Can I get my prop?
Yeah.
Your prop?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Totally get your prop. Yeah. 100%. That makes it for sure.
No, not that one.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. Sorry,
Bonus booth boy round. Will Smith should have decked Chris Rock.
Uh-oh.
I mean,
What?
he did smack the shit out of him, but
So this is my unpopular opinion.
Yeah.
This is the best candy, black licorice.
that is unpopular. It's gross.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan of I do like licorice a lot. But I could eat Twizzlers pulling peels all day. That probably is my
share a
favorite
piece
candy.
with me?
Yeah, sure.
I you know what? I'll do it for the show. I will. This is gonna be terrible, but I'll do it for the show. Oh boy.
Thank you. Was it got to be from Australia? Why is it
Oh,
sticky,
it's
dude?
fucking
This
yeah.
is good because it's made
Jägermeister.
with like real syrup.
Oh, this is Jägermeister. in
You know what? I hate Jägermeister though.
why? This is it. This is
Yeah.
it.
I love these though.
I like it. I'm a big fan. I like licorice.
It's literally gonna make me puke.
I'm not a big. I will say I'm not a big black licorice fan though. But I like Twizzlers a lot. I like the red licorice.
I really don't
more.
like this at all. This is the worst thing ever. I'll wash it down with some whiskey.
Can I have another one? That was really good.
Manifest whiskey, by the way.
Thanks. What a nice guy. But it's got to be from Australia.
No, I don't know why Australia. Like, there's something about Australian licorice that you see all over. I don't know why Australians like the licorice to get.
What's it made out of?
Just like
Jägermeister.
syrup, like
Just solid
honey.
Jägermeister.
Yeah.
That's it.
licorice. Is it absent or what's the
I don't know.
what's that little star? It's in all the Latin foods.
Star?
Star?
It's a spice. Yeah, how do you say it? Anise. That's it. Yeah, anise.
I had an
I think
aunt.
it's
Anise.
I think it's based from anise. Yeah, anise seed oil. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that's too like you ever had like that firewater from like Colombia?
Oh yeah, aguardiente.
Yeah, all
Yeah.
that stuff's like anise.
Yeah, that shit's gross. It's terrible.
Yeah, I do like. No, it's pretty damn good actually. I think I'm on your side. It's pretty damn good.
Actually, the worst candy I've ever tasted. So yes, it is very, very unpopular opinion. I not even joking. I almost threw up on the set here, which would have been great content.
And I had a second piece.
Yeah, I mean, you would.
I would.
Look at that fucking phenomenal gut on you.
Hey, come on. Man.
I'm just saying. I'm just trying to point out your more your.
Well, he
better
just told
qualities.
me today that this causes bubble gut.
Bubble gut
So-
and hot snakes.
Yeah, so I think that's maybe what's wrong with me.
What are hot snakes?
Well, yeah, what
You
are hot
know,
snakes?
when it's like you're on the toilet and it just comes out like hot snakes.
Oh my
Oh.
god!
Okay.
Learning new stuff today.
Yeah.
I'm
Never
getting,
heard
I'm
that
getting
before?
informed.
Never heard that
That's
before.
a first. All right. No one's heard that before. Okay,
No one's heard that
whatever.
before.
Whatever. Bubble gut
We've
and
all
hot
experienced
snakes.
it though.
Yeah, probably let me eat that whole bag and tell me how you feel.
Yeah.
Don't feel like python's coming at you.
Some hot snakes.
Yeah.
Fucking gross.
Yeah.
Anyways, this has been a wonderful podcast. Thank you for sharing your disgusting candy with us.
You're welcome.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's been a pleasure. Shawn, thanks for being here, man.
Thank you
It was
so
awesome. And
much.
Thank you for bringing the whiskey.
Third season's
you're very
over.
welcome.
Congratulations.
Third season's
We
over.
did
This is it. We wrapped
did
it up,
together.
guys.
Thanks to the crew back there.
Thanks to Chris and fucking Gene for crushing it back there, even though
Yeah.
Gene was really
Cheers.
late today because you forgot some piece of equipment.
Hey.
And
No, man, stay. We'll pay you double.
We'll see you guys next season.
Adios, muchachos.